have a light? Oh, cool. Good morning, everybody. We're running a little bit late this morning, but that's totally fine. It's gross out, and all I want to do is lay in bed and drink tea. But I decided to come in and tell you all about some books today. So I'm Ariel, the public services librarian here at Huntington Memorial Library, and I feel like I just assumed that you all know that. But hi, if you're new, if you're not, hello again. But let's talk about some books. I pulled a variety of fiction today. We got some romance, fantasy, mystery, a little comedy, some serious stuff. Let's jump into it. The first one, Fairy Godmothers Inc. by Serana D. Wild. This is just precious. I love it. This one is obviously a romance novel with a touch of, I thought I had put the full summary in here, but I guess I didn't. But it's a romance novel with a touch of magic, of course. It checks the box on both fake relationship and second chance romance tropes. Petunia, Bluebonnet, and Jonquil Blossom are three sister fairy godmothers who are losing their magic. I might read this. I have a book coming up that I'm going to listen to on Hoopla called The Bride Test. I'm a little excited about it. It's February, love is in the air. I want to read that. The next one that we have is D. Is that Tina? It's D, A Tale of Two Worlds by Michael Faber. This kind of gave me like some young adult vibes, but it is a it all starts on the morning the letter D disappears from language. First, it vanishes from D Kilo's parents' conversation at breakfast. I butchered that name, but it starts with a D. D Kilo. Then from the road signs outside and from her school dinners. Soon the local dentist and the neighbor's Dalmatian are missing, and even the donkey derby has been called off. It's wild. Though she doesn't know why, the Kilo is summoned to the home of her old history teacher, Professor Dodderfield, and his faithful Labrador, Nellie Robinson. And this is where our story begins. It sounds kind of wild. So that book is a fantasy, if you didn't gather that. Plus, I just love this cover. Ooh, and Neil Gaiman's on the back. He says it's glorious, a story that will be found and enjoyed and dreamed about for years to come. And I think that's interesting that they say it's the best-selling author of The Ocean at the End of the Lane. We're going to talk about that later with our guest Melody. I don't know what I thought about this book. At first glance, for some reason, I thought it was like a romance. Clearly, it says it's a mystery. It's Finley, Donovan is Killing It by Casa Mano. Finley Donovan is killing it, except she's really not. She's a stressed out single mom of two and struggling novelist. Finley's life is in chaos. The new book she promised her literary agent isn't written. Her ex-husband fired the nanny without telling her, and this morning she had to send her 4-year-old to school with hair duct tape to her head after an incident with scissors. When Finley is overheard discussing the plot of her new suspense novel with her agent over lunch, she's mistaken for a contract killer. This sounds awesome. And inadvertently accepts an offer to dispose of a problem husband in order to make ends meet. Soon, Finley discovers that crime in real life is a lot more difficult than in its fictional counterpart as she becomes tangled in a real-life murder investigation. Oh, I was not expecting that. That book was just released this week. There are many that were just released on Tuesday. Yes, that was the second. And I'm actually really surprised that a lot of these are here because these are all like highly anticipated titles that were coming out. Book Riot has talked about them, and they've been on a ton of other lists. So they're here. Come and get them. Everyone got their pre-copies of it, and loved it. Next one, The Bad Muslim Discount by Syed M. Masood. I love the cover of this. It is 1995, and Anvar Faris is a restless, rebellious, and sharp-tongued boy doing his best to grow up in Pakistan. As fundamentalism takes root within the social order and the zealots next door attempt to make Islam great again, his family decides, not quite unanimously, everybody, this is my first caffeine of the day, and boy, do I need it. It's been a week. Anyway, so unanimously decide to start over in California. Ironically, Anvar's deeply devout mother and his model Muslim brother adjust easily to life in America, while his fun-loving father can't find anyone he relates to. For his part, Anvar fully commits to being a bad Muslim. At the same time, thousands of miles away, Safwa, a young girl living in war-torn Baghdad with her grief-stricken conservative father, will find a very different and far more dangerous path to America when Anvar and Safwa's worlds collide as two remarkable, strong-willed adults. Their contradictory, intertwined fates will rock their community and families to the core. I just realized bobbing my head like I'm listening to some music. I wish we could listen to music during this, but I'm pretty sure the music that I would want to listen to, it would be a mess. 2 more books left, everybody. We're gonna make it. This one is The Prophets by Robert Jones Jr. Isaiah was Samuel's, and Samuel was Isaiah's. That was the way it was since the beginning, and the way it was to be until the end. In the barn, they tended to the animals, but also to each other, transforming the hollowed-out shed into a place of human refuge, a source of intimacy and hope in a world ruled by vicious masters. But when an older man, a fellow slave, seeks to gain favor by preaching the master's gospel on the plantation, the enslaved begin to turn on their own. Isaiah and Samuel's love, which was once so simple, is seen as sinful and a clear danger to the plantation's harmony. Love it. This is one that I'm like so surprised that is still here. It's The Rib King by Laddie Hubbard. When I went to Amazon to get the short summary of it, I had to scroll through tons of accolades for it. Let me see if I can find it. Again, it was Book Riot. Yeah, it's one of their most anticipated releases of 2021. Real Simple, the Chicago Review of Books, Vulture, Lit Hub, Good Morning America, Harper's Bazaar, Pop Sugar, Bustle. Like, come get this book. It sounds so good. For 15 years, August Sitwell has worked for the Barclays, a well-to-do white family who plucked him from an orphan asylum and gave him a job. The groundskeeper is part of the household's all-black staff, along with Miss Mammy, the talented cook, pretty new maid Jenny Williams, and 3 young kitchen apprentices, the latest orphan boys Mr. Barclay has taken in to civilize boys like August. Yes. But the Barclays' fortunes have fallen and their money is almost gone. When a prospective business associate proposes selling Miss Mammy's delicious rib sauce to local markets under the brand name The Rib King, using a character of a wildly grinning August on the label, Mr. Barclay, desperate for cash, agrees. Yet neither Miss Mammy nor August will see a dime. Humiliated, August grows increasingly distraught, his anger building to a rage that explodes in shocking tragedy. I was hoping this had to do with ribs. Wonderful. I cannot wait for barbecue in North Carolina. I'm sorry to be leaving here, but man, not sorry to leave the snow. Also barbecue. That is it for new books. This week, I wasn't in my car a lot. And I only finished The Dutch House by Anne Patchett. Um, I'm starting to like Anne Patchett, and I think that's good for me. I'm really branching out. I really feel like nothing like tremendous happens. Like, why am I reading about these characters? But she writes them in such a way that you're like, oh, they're normal, kind of just like me, and like it's relatable. So, like I said, Tom Hanks narrates it, and I wish he did more. Huge Tom Hanks fan. I feel like pretty much everyone is. So, definitely listen to it. It's really good. Like I said last week, it follows his family, a brother and a sister, um, and their relationship with, their deceased father, their stepmother, and then their mother comes back into their lives after several years. And it's just the story of that, and it's very endearing. And like I mentioned before, probably Monday I'll start listening to The Bride Test. I'm not really quite sure what it's about, but I do know it's a romance novel, and I get to mark off a square on my bookish first bingo sheet for February. All right. So we're going to jump into our interview with Melody. Um, I tried to keep it super short, and then we're going to call it a weekend. I hope everyone has a warm and safe weekend, and we'll see you soon.
All right. So this week we are talking to Melody. She is a lovely mother, and not now, she's always been an avid reader, but she's just a really great library patron and she reads a lot. So this is going to be a fun little interview today. Melody, thank you so much for hopping on and being my guest at the last minute because I'm a bad planner.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I mean, it's the benefit of COVID that I tend to be home a lot of the time and also reading a lot of the time.
Yes. Oh, I love it. So let's jump right in because she's a busy lady. What do you like to read? What are some of your favorite books?
I am one of those people who, I mean, you know this from some of our book club reads. I'm pretty much down to like, I'll try almost any kind of book, not everything. But I mean, if I could say favorite genres, I really like magical realism. I like mysteries. I love a good novel. Um, but really, I mean, anything with a good story, I'm willing to give a try.
Sam, we've thrown a lot of different types of books at you, and of course me too, because we're all on a lot of the same book clubs. We're book club like addicts, so we have the ones at the library that we're in, and then we have like a separate like friends one that we're also in, and we read a variety of books. What has been your favorite book that we've read for any of the book clubs?
It is so hard to say, but uh, I really liked Seven and a Half Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. That was like, I wouldn't say my number one favorite, but one of my top from our book clubs.
I don't know why, but I really thought you were gonna say the End of the World Running Club.
I love that one too. I don't know, it's so hard to pick, but they were both very good.
God, I really like them too. Yes, those were really good. Um, what are like some of your just in general favorite books that you have read in your lifetime? It can be several because it's hard. It's like picking a favorite child or so I've heard.
A couple that jump out. I think Me Talk Pretty One Day by David Sedaris has been like kind of a lifelong, like I'll come back and read that every now and then because when I was in like middle school or early high school, that was one of the first books that I read outside of school reading. And that kind of made it, made reading I had read as like a younger child, but that was like a special one for me that kind of got me back into it at that age when a lot of kids kind of like drift away from reading for fun. So that one's a favorite. Me Talk Pretty One Day. Let me think. Educated by Tara Westover really made a big impact on me, especially because it's true. And yeah, there's been a lot. Also a recent favorite, The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I tore through that in like a day. It was so nice and so terrifying.
Remind me how that one ends. Oh, should listen. This book has
Maybe
been
I
out
won't.
for a long time, and like years and years and years ago, I had another book club, and that was a selection from it. So if you haven't read it by now, this is your fault. Can you remind me what, like, so of course there's a girl, right? And she lives
and he kind of, yeah, what happened? The monster gets killed, and the girl, I think it's kind of, I don't know, I feel like I remember it being kind of hazy of like that she just goes away and he keeps coming back to kind of like visit her in like not a real way. Like, I don't know, it's kind of unclear, like whether he's talking to just one woman or the three of the women that were at the house.
Now I feel like I have to reread it because like I remembered that I loved it, but I cannot remember like really what it's about.
Yeah, there's like these trio of like the three women who just like defy time, but the main girl that the main character connects with, like I don't think she dies, but I think she has to like recede to time or something to like recharge. Or I'm sorry if there's any like hardcore Neil Gaiman fans out there who are hearing this like not really well, good description, but yeah, I love the vibe of that book. It's so nice.
And it's not very long. I might have to reread that. I feel like I have a strict like rule about rereading books, but it's not that big, or it's not that long rather, so I could probably get through it. And also, I am my own person. I can make my own rules.
You can change the rules anytime.
Anytime. I am as free as a bird. Are you a fan of Neil Gaiman?
I am. Yeah. I read American Gods. Yeah, I read American Gods a couple years ago. Really loved like the twist with that. There's been a couple other things. What else have I read? There's still a lot in his list that I have to read yet, including I can't wait until my son is old enough for some of his children's books. I think they're a little past where like my 2-year-old would be interested, but when he's a little older, there's some stuff out there that would be nice.
I was talking to TNR director. I have no concept of time, so I do not remember when this was. Recently, I guess there is another reprinting of American Gods where there's like 12,000 extra words in it, so that's like that's a few pages. And I guess they cut it because they weren't sure if this book was going to be popular. How could it not be? Everyone loves Neil, and if you don't, I guess that's fine. But so I think we're getting the new edition of that book coming in, so that'll have more story in it, and I think it's also available. I can't remember if it's on Hoopla or Libby, where they have.
I think I saw a version on Hoopla recently because I was looking for his stuff to see what else I could get, and so if anyone's interested, there's quite a bit of Neil Gaiman on Hoopla.
Yes, there is.
Both audio and ebook.
Our free streaming service that you can get with your Oneana card. If you have any questions about it, holler at us. You have 6 borrows now. We added it up. We're still trying to find that sweet spot of getting you the most amount of borrows and the most amount of stuff. So now it's fine. We're going to get there, everybody. We're going to get there. What'd you like to read as a child? I totally forgot to ask you this at the beginning.
I read
chronologically.
I loved like I feel like I have a hard time remembering the names of some of the series other than the Babysitter's Club, but I loved series like that where there were like 50,000 in the set or whatever, and you could just keep going through like there was like the Babysitter's Club and Babysitter's Little Sister, but there was some other ones, like I think Magic Treehouse might have been one of them.
I love Magic Treehouse.
Yeah, I think that was it. And oh gosh, what was the other one? The Lemony Snicket Series of Unfortunate Events. I tore through those also. Yeah, I liked that kind of stuff. That was
Were
fun.
you a Goosebumps fan as well?
I was not. I don't know. It seemed a little too creepy as a kid, but I don't know, I probably would have liked it.
I feel like the past like few guests that we had, everyone's like Goosebumps, Goosebumps, Goosebumps.
Yeah.
It's really, I mean, I get it. It's either Goosebumps or Babysitter's Club, and I feel like they do not mix. Like the person who read one did not read the other. That's
Yep.
fun. Statistics. I have not asked this question to anybody yet. And I'm glad I'm coming up with all these questions right before I leave. What is a book that you loved so much that you wish there was a sequel to?
So one that I read this year, well, last year, I guess at this point, 2020, A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki. I really loved that, and I kind of wish there was more of it. I don't know how there could be a sequel. I'm not saying there couldn't be, but the way the story wraps up, I was like, oh man, like I don't want this to end yet.
What's it about?
It's about the rough gist is a woman living on an island off of Canada is walking on the beach and finds this journal from a Japanese girl. And as she's reading the journal, it kind of seems like the journal's like writing itself into this story of, this girl's father is like severely depressed, and the girl's kind of trying to deal with that, but then also like is dealing with her own issues of like school bullying, and there's just like a lot of touches on a lot of different like mental health facets. The girl also gets sent to like spend a summer at her grandmother's, who is like a Buddhist nun, and it's a nunnery of only 2 nuns. So it's this like small out in the middle of nowhere, but she like gleans some of this like wisdom from her grandmother that kind of helps her cope and grows her as a person as she's dealing with like things escalating with her father. And you kind of are seeing this happening from this person reading the journal and also being impacted by it and trying to like race to finish the story. So it's interesting.
What would you like to see in that sequel? I did not prep her on this question.
I know, I'm coming up with this on the fly. I would like to see, so I was so interested in the grandmother who was the nun, and they kind of painted her as having this like really interesting life. And they do talk about it, and they do talk about like some of their family history, but I would actually love to see like just even more of like the grandmother's like past or what she was doing, minding her own business before like her granddaughter shows up. Like, yeah.
Nice. I do have to ask this question. What is a book that you just didn't like, couldn't get through, would not recommend? If any.
I can't think of one right this second because, I kind of, even if I don't really like a book at first, I'll kind of keep going with it and try to like, like what's that saying? Like chew the meat, spit out the bone or whatever. Like just try to glean something that is like useful from it, or at least say like, well, now I can say I've read that. Like,
Yes, try to find out why it was published.
yeah.
Someone liked it a lot.
Apparently.
All right, we're almost running out of time. We started the timer so we don't ramble for 8 hours, because we could.
I'm sure we could.
Yes. Melody and I have had many lunches very distant from each other just to talk about books. And I'm actually very surprised that you haven't talked about Ninth House, but that's fine.
Well, I'm counting on maybe having to reread it at some point for book club. So
I think that's what I'm gonna do. And
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Busy. Also on Hoopla, it's an audiobook. I think you can get a book too.
That's cool.
But yeah, so you can listen to it. Since February is Library Lovers Month, let's What's something that you like about the library?
I love I love discovering new books. I mean, I haven't done it as much with COVID, but there's been some times where I'll come into the library and just browse around and find things that I wouldn't normally find. I just love that. It makes me feel so comfy and cozy to come just like walk around the shelves.
And it's nice here because it's like it's a house, right? So you're just like,
Yeah, it really feels cozy.
yeah, it's very cozy. Wonderful, Melanie. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Is there like, oh, actually, what is a book that you would recommend for someone to just go out and read right now? Like if they're looking for a new book, what is something that you would recommend?
Let's see. I'm gonna pull up my Goodreads list so I can remember some things that I've read recently that I would recommend.
Since starting here and reading, like going to overdrive, like I'm obsessed with Goodreads. It's my favorite
Yeah,
thing in the world.
yeah.
Every
It's so
time I
nice for
finish, I'm like,
discovering things too.
yes.
Oh, okay. Mexican Gothic I read recently and I loved it. Trigger warning for I'm not even going to say what. It's really weird, it's really creepy, but if you like a good like psychological thriller, touches on some issues of race but is not super preachy, but is just really interesting story. Like Mexican Gothic is where it's at. I loved that book so much.
It took us forever to get it. Printing has
I
been weird this year.
I actually, so I think, I don't know if I was the first one to get it, but I added it to like my hold at the library online in like November and waited until it came in, which was like, somewhat recently. I was like, and it showed that it was like on order and you guys were waiting for it and everything. So I was like patiently waiting. And when it finally showed up, I got the little email. It's like Mexican Gothic is in. I was like, I got to get to the library now. Like it's there.
Yes. I have been absolutely dying to read it.
Yeah.
And it's never here. It's never here. So
Yeah. Yeah.
letting everyone else get to it, I think it's going to be many months until I get to. But
Yeah.
I guess printing has been weird. Well, it was in 2020, especially since Mexican Gothic came out, I think in the spring, like when things
Yeah. I mean,
were like,
congratulations to anyone who published a book in 2020 and managed to, get it out there. Like that's an accomplishment.
mhm. A fun little publishing stat or fact. I guess there was 1 week where over 600 titles came out. It was either 1 week or 1 month, but I'm thinking it's
What?
I remember thinking that's wild.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It is crazy. Um, so Mexican Gothic, excellent.
Yeah.
I keep feeling like I'm saying it wrong, but it's fine. She has another book out and I look at it a lot. It's in sci-fi. Um, something with Jade. That came out.
Yeah, I forget the name of it, but she's actually got quite a few other books, and from what I understand, I haven't read them yet, but they're all like different genres. Like one's like a courtroom kind of book, one's like I think the Jade one, I forget what it is, but it was something else. It's like they're all kind of different from each other, like genre wise.
Look at her
Yeah.
branching out.
Yep.
Excellent. All right. That was so fun. I could talk to you for more hours, for hours about books. Whew. And we never had to restart this. So high five to both of us.
Yeah.
Thank you
Yep.
so much for being on, and hopefully we'll see you soon at the library.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Take care.
Yeah.